What's up everybody, my name is Kyle, and today I'm going to review WandaVision. Directed by Matt Shakman, this takes place just 3 weeks after Avengers Endgame, where a town in New Jersey called Westview mysteriously disappears. Connected to this disappearance are two Avengers who have somehow managed to star in their own sitcom. There is more going on in Westview than we thought. Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, is evidently living in her own fantasy reality, starring as the main character. After the events of Endgame, it becomes apparent that due to the loss of Vision, Wanda's unfortunate grief has taken over, which has inevitably led her to take over the town of Westview. Elizabeth Olsen should win award after award for incredible acting. She certainly displays these emotions of pain, grief and anger as well as sadness very well. You do indeed sympathise her character and are also afraid of what she is truly capable of. Her powers have reached a new feat, certainly mastering the hex powers she has cast all over Westview and controlling everybody within it. I'm gonna say it. If Thanos didn't rain fire, then Wanda would have definitely ripped him to pieces. And what a moment it was when she was finally referred to as the Scarlet Witch. I really loved her new costume and even the iconic comic accurate one she wore in the Halloween special. The Scarlet Witch costume, however, is probably one of the best MCU costumes out there. There's so many cool details, from the crown to the cape that she forms at the end of the show. Wanda got a bittersweet ending. Although she came to terms with her grief, she was left alone and feared and angered by the Westview residents. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what she is capable of in the Doctor Strange sequel, either playing an antagonist or a protagonist, but either way it'll be really cool to see Elizabeth Olsen once again. Vision, played by Paul Bettany. You know, actually, it's crazy to think that Paul Bettany has been in the MCU for 14 years and has evolved so much as an actor. I think he does a fantastic job portraying this version of Vision, only having the memories of Westview and Wanda, and nothing else. The shift in his character when he discovers the truth is emotive and amazing. You genuinely feel sympathy for Vision and the pain that he can never leave Westview. It was quite heartbreaking to see Vision disintegrate twice, when he breaks out of Westview and when Wanda has to close the hex. The White Vision scenario gives me hope that Vision will return, after Wanda's Vision restored the lost memories of White Vision, but I really hope it won't be long till we find out what happens with him next. Agnes, Agatha Harkness, played by Kathryn Hahn, is probably the definition of a false hero persona that worked extremely well. Kathryn Hahn did a wonderful performance of playing Westview's nosy neighbour and the main antagonist of the show. All the Ralph red herrings week after week, making us think that this was a reference to Mephisto, when really Agatha was teasing us with a boner joke. Agatha is the official introduction of witches in the MCU, and that's exciting enough. Her powers are insane, being almost unstoppable. Had she not mentioned the casting of runes to Wanda, she probably would have absorbed all of her powers and ultimately killing her. I don't think this is the end of Agatha, as of course Wanda trapped her as Agnes the nosy neighbour. It's clear she'll be back, maybe to help or maybe to cause trouble, but all I can say is, it was Agatha all along. Had to put the lights on because it got really dark outside, but it gives me the opportunity to move on and talk about my favourite episode of WandaVision, which is episode 6, the Halloween episode. I really like the use of the comic book costumes. I love it when the MCU does callbacks to the comics. For the comic fans, it's very satisfying. Pietro and the kids being a nuisance. Seeing fake Pietro with the kids and being very mischievous was very entertaining and hilarious, especially with the use of the silly string. using Malcolm in the Middle as the inspiration. Like with the majority of the episodes, this particular episode was inspired by actual TV shows. I loved how they used Malcolm in the Middle as the influence, as I really loved that show back in the day. I liked the similar visual style, such as the intro being pretty similar, as well as Billy talking to the camera like Malcolm does in the show. Vision trying to break free. Seeing Vision trying to get out of Westview to plead the SHIELD team for help was very heartbreaking, especially when he begun disintegrating in front of them and nobody helped him, and yet he didn't ask, and he only wanted them to help the trapped people of Westview. That is true heroism. The twins gaining their powers. I love how Billy and Tommy gain their powers, which is true to the comics, with Tommy gaining super speed and Billy the same attributes as Wanda. Hopefully we see them both again and using their powers. Wanda expanding the Hex. The big moment from this episode for me is when Wanda expands the Hex to save Vision. This showed how powerful she really is, and I believe at that moment her inner Scarlet Witch was coming out and it was hella exciting. Other favourite sequences I've got to mention. Grief is love persevering. Vision and Wanda flashback from episode 8. Some of the quotes from MCU films are good, but personally, this is one of the best ones. It was already a moving scene and this quote really highlighted it. Wanda tricking Agatha in the final episode. I loved how Wanda used Agatha's tricks against her with the casting of the runes. I remember shouting at my laptop, "You clever girl!" The Magic Act, featuring a drunk Vision episode 2. Action set pieces aside and serious moments aside, the Magic Act sequence was enjoyable as well as hilarious. Vision acting like a drunk was funny, and Wanda trying to cover up Vision's powers by revealing them as magic acts was great. Wanda becoming the Scarlet Witch in the final episode. This was one of the best moments of the show by far, if not the best. It might have consequences for the MCU future, but damn, it was great seeing her costume and her full power. Monica getting her powers in episode 7. This was a totally unexpected but awesome moment. I can't wait to see what Spectrum or Photon is planning to do next. I think Monica deserved a lot in this show after losing so much, and she sure did. The good points of this show. Certainly the storyline and the style of show with the use of the TV sitcoms as a kind of template and sort of stylistic trait, as well as the general theme of this whole show, which is about grief as well as witches and magic and technology. As with most MCU projects, this show had a very good cast which was incredible with some very talented acting. We got more in depth with Wanda's powers as well as her backstory. I found that really interesting that from a very young age Wanda had these powers all along. It just took an Infinity Stone to really flesh them out. As well as this, we got the introduction to witches in the MCU, and this kind of opens the door to other supernatural beings such as vampires, which is where Blade comes in. This leads into the Doctor Strange sequel, which I'm really excited and intrigued by. It's possible that Wanda has messed up the multiverse due to gaining her Scarlet Witch powers, which means the Sorcerer Supreme needs to step in and fix all these problems. It's also going to connect to Spider-Man No Way Home, as that film is supposed to have some multiverse aspects to it, with the possible return of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire playing their Spider-Man roles once again. The bad points of WandaVision. The episodes were a bit too short. I felt like they could have been a little bit longer, maybe 45 minutes long. Even the longest episode of this show wasn't exactly the length it was intended to be, because the end credits were very long at 8 minutes, which I thought was ridiculous. The runtime wasn't right. We were promised 6 hours worth of WandaVision and we kind of got 4.5 hours. So I was wondering where the hour and a half went. It's possible it went to the behind the scenes episode. Fair enough, but I suppose it's more about the quality of the show rather than the quantity. The final bad point of the show were 3 words: please stand by. Seeing those words every single week was so annoying, because that meant the episode was over and you had to wait a whole week for the next one. but I suppose it was good to leave you on a cliffhanger every single week because it enticed you to want to watch the next episode. So in conclusion, I would give WandaVision a solid 8 out of 10. I thought this was a great start to the fourth phase of the MCU, and I'm excited to see where they go next. I'm certainly enjoying Falcon and the Winter Soldier currently and what they're doing next with that, as well as all the other future MCU projects of this year. So comment down below what you thought of WandaVision. What did you think the good points were? What do you think the bad points were? What was your favourite episode? Who were your favourite characters? And were there any particular Easter eggs that you really enjoyed seeing? So like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!